Oseo.
Oseo.
That's a Cherokee greeting. And wave the great feather for the good of it. And that's to summon the spirits. And in addition, say, this is the Hindu greeting, Namaste, here. I'm going to start out with a reading, a poem. And this is a poem, very recent poem, by Sarita Martin. I'm going to say Esquire. Best I can do is to say that I so much honor her, that she has everything, accomplished so much of herself as a writer, as a poet, as a woman, and she has done so much for San Diego. I don't think there can be any poetry in any event, including the schools, that she hasn't been a part of here. And so this is actually an honoring of Sarita, as well as this is the way I am introducing my theme today, that I'm giving it an English title, and that is the Universal Universal
Snake.
Goddess of Snakes. Yeah, I think a lot like that. So let me begin with her poem that she's titled Ode to a Reflection. Sister to the simple mirror, trickster of light and shadow, you play with reality, tossing indoor overhead lights into eucalyptus trees, charming the canopy into a pagoda, perfect a ceremonial tea. Reflection, you press me to ponder other times when I have seen you capture an entire face in a rainbow, in a raindrop, or frame a cloud in a pond. Nothing is too large or small. No subject can escape your willful ways, as you take in whatever pleases you and project it where you may. Reflection, you are a fleeting forensic, a peeping Tom in the dressing room mirror, as a young woman slips off her red sequin gown and lets it puddle around her ankles. The reflection captured in the scale shine of her coils. Now I'm adding a comment to that, is what I might call it, since my theme has a lot to do with India. Reflection translate into Vimarsa in the Shiva philosophy of India. It means that aspect of reality by which it knows itself. Personified, Vimarsa is Sakti. It is the very will of the divine as the spiritual energy of incalculable force that can proliferate into any form, from the subtlest to the grossest. She contains all that is to be. Her mobility is serpentine, Nagini. She is the Ophidian energy controlling and creating coils in the universe. The serpent, Naga, she is our primordial mother. So that's all what the theme was that I'm presenting today, with mostly India and Native America. And first we'll go up to my center piece that I've created here. I have titled this Naga. So you can see that I have created that sort of a painting. Then on each side of it, on this side here, this is a mask that I brought from Mexico. It's very old, probably about 80 years old here. So you can see that Mexico is a great place for masks. And go across to the other side. This is a Yaqui ceremonial mask of serpent. The Yaqui culture is sort of has two parts. One part is folk Catholic, and the other part is their traditional, inherent, we'll call it native culture that still does have a mythical serpent in it. I don't remember his name, but that's the mask for that. And since we are mentioning Mexico, you just drop right down below it. Today is the autumn equinox. And in Mexico, the place Chichen Itza in Yucatan, there is a kind of pyramid that they call El Castillo, like that, and there will be hundreds, many hundreds of people gathered there to witness a ancient phenomena that the builders of the pyramid knew how to calculate, and that is the descent of the feathered serpent from heaven down into the temple that surmounts the pyramid, and it fluctuates or slithers down the stairway into a huge stone head of the serpent. So this is my illustration of Quetzalcoatl. The quetzal is a bird that lives in the forest down there, who is brilliant green with very, very long tail feathers. In pictures I've seen as it flies, it does look something like a flying serpent. So I have the tail of this feathered serpent simulating those long tail feathers. And you come over here to this piece here. This is a Cherokee pipe. A week ago, tomorrow, Monday, was the September 16th, the time that the Cherokee were commemorating and having a memorial for what we've called the Trail of Tears. This is where the United States government forced the Cherokee people out of their, evicted from their homeland, a force of arms. In other words, they were driven by armed soldiers in winter to walk a distance to Oklahoma, where very, very many people died on the way of that. And markers have been put there to remember that tragic march that happened. So it's also to commemorate the people who have survived that ordeal and have continued in our Cherokee nation. The Cherokee flag, which I have in the front of our house here, has a black seven-pointed star on it, and that is to stand for the people who have perished in the Trail of Tears. So relevant to my theme here, the Cherokee have a mythical serpent, and that is Uktena. And Uktena does appear still very, very vital. It's not just an old story, as a horned serpent here. And this is a Cherokee-made pipe to simulate the memory and the vitality of Uktena. And there is another serpent, and I have pictured it here. And I know her as Sandra of the Crystal Eye. The crystal eye is Olunsati, and crystals are very ubiquitous in a Cherokee culture. And so I definitely wanted to have that in here. So she definitely has, apparitional force or power here. So we definitely have this, is what I call Sandra of the Crystal Eye. The crystal eye is Lunsati here. Then over here, this is my painting. It's an oil painting, and I call it, Nagalupe here. And so that's, my feeling for making a portrait of her here. And here's another piece that I have created here. Here you see this is the red hibiscus, and in the goddess sense, the Devi sense, that is her favorite flower. In the old days, I'm trying to say this, in the old days in India, the way that the Nagas were honored here. I should have to say, Naga in India is the word for supernatural serpents here. A regular snake might be called sarpents, but mostly Nagas, because I don't know how you're sure whether an ordinary snake is not a supernatural snake. So Nagas is the word. It evidently is indigenous. And I'll say in a minute, where I think that word came from. So in the old times, what I'm trying to get at, before they could make mental images, especially stones and earthen pots, things like that, were the way that people venerated, honored, or worshipped anything of the supernatural serpents that we called Nagas, or in the feminine, Nagini. This piece here, I found a rock that was shaped just right, and I made a mold of it, and with a certain material. This is my casting of that rock to simulate here the head of her, the Nagini here. So that's what my piece is here. I'm very, very proud of it here. Then over here we come to a real, artifact, a real antique, There are people that are actually called Nagas. They live up in the very northeast part of India. The main state is Assam, and it borders on Burma and Tibet. And maybe the word Naga didn't come from there, but it is associated with a Tibetan word, Napus, which means something like, supernatural being, or at least somebody who has, supernatural access here. And I don't know how old this is, I'll be old, but a mask like this they would put over a stone, since stones, consistently have been a way to venerate the Naga or the Nagini here. And this necklace of red coral is called, the blood of the Devi. And this one has a jade serpent pendant to it here. Now here in the right section here, we'll come down to this. I had showed her last week, but we'll do this again. This is, a mask of Manasa, like that. And she is the deity, you can say, the supernatural snakes are the Nagas, and their deity of those supernatural snakes is Manasa here. And this is her mask for that. And here down below is her votive image. You can see multi-headed serpents there. So she's like, the queen of serpents. Now, to accompany this, I have put this piece here. This is Medusa. My image here actually comes from a photograph of a sculpture of Medusa. And so I have reproduced it here. Medusa is very, 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 very famous through the Greek mythical lore, which, you would have to understand what has happened there in the Mediterranean and who Medusa really represents. First of all, her name Medusa in Greek is really Madron, like Madonna, meaning female ruler. So Madron is her North African name, is the way we'll render it. And she is, I'm trying to say mythically, reputed to have her locality either on a stone island or at least an isle strewn with rocks, which were definitely known to abound with snakes. And so all of that is what I've put here. But also she signifies something else. In the Greek myth, she is assassinated by Perseus. And this is one incident in the Genocide that took place. Numerous assaults on North Africa, assassinating leaders of the gynocratic world. All of the Mediterranean was gynocratic, and it was invaded by masculine-oriented people who this one, the assassination of Medusa is the mythical. It probably is also the assassination of her priestesses. And all of the Mediterranean has that tragic history to it. And I put it here because most surely everything that is being said of Medusa is the same as Manasseh here. She is definitely a serpent queen, and no doubt she had priestesses, and these priestesses were assassinated here. And everything that, what is the name, Lucan, a Roman poet of about 2,000 years ago, all he described of her would be very similar to Shiva. She has, cobras, writhing around on her head and her arms and things like that. So that's very significant for the time where we are right now in the United States history with Kamala Harris. Women have been almost totally erased from history. You have to take that into account in any of these perspectives concerning myths, the Roman and Greeks, what they did, for all that. The island where, in the story, the Medusa inhabited is also called Hespera, the island in the west. And there was a giant, giant lake there. It's called Tritonus, which meant purity. And in an islet or something to that effect was legendarily, her locale, where she was. That probably now is what the Libyan desert is. The name Libya also is a Greek name for her, as Limia here. So all of that. Now, when I come down to here, I love this portrait that I have found, and this is a great portrait of Manasseh. Manasseh, we'll call her, the serpent queen or something to that effect. So everything I'm pointing out is going to be relating here. On the side of her here, this is a murti, an actual, votive cobra here that I have here to symbolize that the earth itself, Praviti, is being upheld by the cobra, usually called Ananta Sesha here. And I have a little Caribbean piece here to symbolize the earth that the cobra is upholding here. And on the other side, I've seen even very large ones of this from India or Southeast Asia, of obviously the Naga here. Now we can go down here to this piece here. This is literally a stone snake. In India, Nagina Naga. And it's not exactly just to worship snakes, it's a way of venerating the earth, because the earth is the mother of the snakes. She is the mother of the Nagas. And this is the way in India that she would be venerated. This is a mala necklace to show that she is being honored here in this way here. So again, that's Nagina Naga, meaning stone snake. And from that I come right up here to this piece, very, very honorable piece. In the summer month in India, Shirana, I think it's like, they have a festival called Naga Panchami. This is the time of the Nagas. And during this time, people go out and look for cobras to catch them. And to help them in that, they will, somehow venerate or ask help from this stone. This is a stone also, as a stone is, Nagina here. But it's not a stone snake like this one. It is a stone for the presence of her Pitari. Pitari means snake catcher. And so this is an ancient artifact here to say people, they go out and they catch these cobras, evidently by the hundreds, and there's a temple, a Shiva temple, and they bring them into that temple where they give them milk and whatever else snakes like here. And for people who don't really want to get into chasing cobras, they can also obtain, you go way over here, giant cloth snakes like that one. And other ways that images of snakes might be fashioned here. And while we're over there, we are looking at my painting here. This is Manasa or Nagini. I really like it. And over to the side I have hanging there. This represents Nagamani. Nagamani means the Naga jewel. And the particular feature of Manasa is that she, I guess if you venerate her, or if you have trouble with snakes or snake bites, you know, this jewel is to either protect you from getting bitten by a snake or maybe cure you if you have been bitten by a snake. But that's, you know, what I'm representing there of her, the Nagini or Manasa. There are other names that are also very outstanding, but I'm keeping this a little bit on the simple side here. Now we can come over here to this centerpiece. This is a murti, is what you call it in India, and it is to represent Shiva. Now Shiva is a bit of a complex and somewhat misunderstood divine, if I use that word, a supernatural person, and so forth, you know. So it's very, very, very considerable. And one way I can start to describe it is that the men sadhus call him Shiva. The women satis and the boys know her to be Shiva. So there's the difference. And what's happened, evidently, is that the masculine or male aspect has been grossly overstated of Shiva. And all kinds of things and ridiculous ideas and, I don't call them anything, rituals, you know, have all stemmed from a lot of misunderstanding. I think a few people do sort of begin to recognize it. Shiva is really Sri Maha Sukha. Sukhavati is her generating organ. And Shiva, like Coyote, dwells in her generative organ as the seed, bija. It's the seed of light, also called, you know, prajnayoni, meaning the forecast of becoming, you know. In other words, it's actually called the girl, and the girl grows up to be a woman. So it's a very interesting connection that is imbued, you know, in this. And along with this misunderstanding, there is a figure that is called the lingam. And if you go way over here to this piece, this is actually, for real, Hindu image of the Shiva linga. And the three faces of Shiva that are on it makes it called the Trimurti. Three is her threefold, is consistent from the most ancient times. Even Ireland, the Erinys, is named after the three aspects of the goddess, the divinity. And that's what this is. This is a Shiva lingam. And what has happened is that it has been misunderstood to be a male phallus and has turned Shiva into a male god with a huge phallus, which is a total mistake here. I come over here and I'll do a little bit. This is a bronze cobra from China. And the cobra is sort of coiled on a pile of Chinese coins, so it must mean something, for wealth or prosperity in China. And curiously, Chinese symbolism aside, there is this black and it's inscribed, with these 3 lines. This looks very, very Hindu. This looks very, very Shiva Linga. There are actual Shiva Lingas that have this black elliptical with a serpent over it. I have one. And the 3 lines are very characteristic of the followers of Shiva, and it's called, Tripundra. And they make it with ash vibhuti. And here in front of it, this is a little bronze, what we call lingam and a yoni. Maybe you can kind of make it out here so you get a better idea of it. The word lingam means just a mark, just an indicator. And somehow it's been literalized in actually meaning it is a phallus, which is a mistake. Its actual name is Bagshif. It means her clitoris. Her clitoris is located in what's being called here the yoni. The other word for vulva in India is baka. So the clitoris is Bagshif. Baka for vulva means something, like happy, beneficent. So actually it is her within her baga here. And these stones here, this is a tiny one I have. These are from the Narmada River, and they're also considered in this way linga or salagrama. It could be Vishnu's, it could be Shiva's, or it could be the chakras. And this is a very tiny one I found. Some of them are very, very large. I have a larger one at home here. So that's a little bit to understanding this. So this whole thing about Shiva is that he is not originally Hindu. He's been assimilated into the Hindu and disfigured. He's been not only but the other part of his disfigurement is his consort, his wife, Parvati. She's also been taken in, and they've been made a romantic couple, and they have little pornographic stories about them. It's all really ridiculous what people do. But she and Shiva are indigenous people in Tamil Nadu, the southern India. These are another people. And so last week I had showed a very ancient carving of Parvati. Parvati's real name is Rodasi, meaning heaven and earth here. And Shiva has many other names. Sambhu is another one. So there's some understanding of that. And over here I have a mask of Shiva. It always has the crescent moon, and you see the cobra winding around the head, his head. So it's piled up there. This would be the fashion of a yogi medicant, somebody who meditates here. So I'm just being able to touch on this because of the snakes. Snakes, cobras especially, are part and parcel of any image or reference to Shiva. And so this image over here is teeming with cobras all around him. You can see how much that is here. And here in this image how he has the snake around his head. And lastly I have this little figure here. This figure here, you see him, very tiny, is Krishna Kalyana. Krishna Kalyana, and that is a marvelous casting. I don't know how they did it. So this is the figure of Krishna, and you have Kaliya is the cobra, hovering over him. And what really, I don't really say attracts me to this is the image of how I feel. This is how I feel. I feel her hovering over me all the time. So that's how we're going to have that. And we'll come over to this side if you can see this. Can you see this drawing? Okay, this is my drawing that I've also titled Nagini. So this is another, for me, another expression of her Naga or serpentine image of herself. Can you get all the way, which? Well, I'm going, yes, I'm exactly going to do this, but can you get this one over here at all? This image here is meant to represent Pyramid Lake, Nevada. And I've written above it, this original mine is the prehensile tail of our symbolical body. This is a pyramid, and in the lake is a huge serpent. The people who live here and around here, the Americans have called Coyotes. That's an American name for them. Their name, their own name, is the Numa. The Numa are people from Libya. The Numidian people, the Romans called them also Numa. And their language shows the incidence of Hamitic. In a language study showing Semitic incidents in the Uto-Aztecan language, identifies the language of these Numa people. This would represent the stone island of Medusa, and this is the serpent who lives in the lake. And Wilbur, who has the Pyramid Lake store, I haven't seen him in a long time, but he actually has a photo of a snake right here on the pyramids. So this is another way I'm saying of the serpent snake in Native America also. All of these things have been suppressed, repressed, not allowed, or distorted here in America and in Native America. And here, this is my piece here. This is Big Snake Woman. Her name is Talitzo Atzna. Talitzo Atzna. She is the guardian of Changing Woman. Atzanaidlihe, who is the major deity, what I call her, of the people, the Dene, the Americans call Navajo. And this is my Mona Lisa. She is the one who is my muse, right here. So big snake woman. Now throughout the Navajo culture, they said at one time they did use live snakes in some of these ceremonies, but they have replaced them with sand paintings of snakes. And many of the healing ceremonies that I don't know any exact personations like with a mask, but definitely there are ceremonies where the patient is even painted to conduct the spirit, of serpents, of snakes. So it's, throughout, the snake is a power, the snake is a healer, and the Navajo are one people who have kept a large part of their pre-American, English-American culture intact. And I had mentioned last week, the Hopis, their ceremony, the Hopis actually originate in the Nile Delta, and they still have, and of course, the Egyptians had a lot of snakes, and the Hopi still have the snake dance that I had attended by invitation here. So with all of that, I have one final piece here. This is another one of my creations here in the snake, and this is a piece that is Navajo. White, great snake woman, arise to protect me with your white flint shoes. Arise to protect me with your white flint leggings. Arise to protect me with your white flint garment. Arise to protect me with your white flint hat. With your white bow, your white arrow, your white flint knife. With these you shall arise to protect me. Then I can arise behind you. Then I shall be recovered behind you. Then I am fully restored behind you. Dangerous beings have not found me. Let that which conceals you also conceal me. Let that which causes you to be invisible also cause me to be invisible. Behind these I am not found. Behind these I am not found. Dangerous beings have not found me. Dangerous beings have not found me. Dangerous beings have not found me.